Hey folks, happy belated Friday the 13th. A lot of folks have been private messaging me online asking me my thoughts about the whole COVID-19 outbreak because I'm a research scientist who spent a bulk of my career studying infectious diseases. Granted, 99.9% of that research has been with bacterial infections, not viral, but still, people have been messaging me asking my thoughts about the whole outbreak. So I figured rather than write a big long essay, I would make a video instead because it'd just be easier. Uh, a couple of disclaimers. Like I said, I am not a virologist, and I am not by any measure an epidemiologist. So I am not an expert on this, okay? However, because of my scientific background, I do have a pretty good grasp of what is being said by the experts and what you're reading online or in the media or you're hearing on the news or from your politicians. So what my goal is to try and explain what's going on in as simple a way as possible. Now, that being said, biology is horrendously complicated. I've been doing this for you since I've been neck deep in science since I was 18 years old, and I still learn new things every single day. It is tremendously complicated. So a short Facebook video will by no measure cover in the detail that needs to be covered uh, what we're discussing. It just won't. I'm going to gloss over things, all right? I'm not going to go into as much detail because there's just not enough time. That being said, this will still be pretty long for a Facebook video because there's still a lot of points to cover. So please bear with me, all right? The last disclaimer I want to make is that a lot of this stuff really gets under my skin. The misunderstanding, the scientific illiteracy, a lot of the misinformation that's out there really annoys me. So if I lose my cool, I apologize in advance. I don't want to, but I might. So again, please bear with me, all right? So coming at this, looking at this, it seems like there are one of two ways that far too many people are reacting to this whole situation, all right? It seems like either people are blowing it off like it's no big deal, or people are completely losing their freaking shit over this. And both of them are bad. I went to school and I studied pharmacology and toxicology, and something my toxicology professor used to tell us all the time is that moderation is key. You can eat arsenic, believe it or not, providing it's a small enough dose and not die. You can consume too much water, which is really safe, and again, it could kill you. It's the dose. So moderation is key. Don't blow this off like it's nothing, and and don't overreact and completely panic. All right, neither one of them helps the situation. We have to meet in the middle. We have to be moderate, okay, about our response to this as public. All right, as the public. Now I'm going to address both of those situations separately. First, I'm going to start with the people who say it's no big deal, who roll their eyes, who say, "Oh my gosh, the flu kills so many more people, so why are we canceling all this stuff and we're overreacting." And the thing is, that's not true. It's not true. If you're rolling your eyes at this and shrugging your shoulders and thinking this is all a waste of time, you're wrong. I hate to tell you this, but you are wrong. All right. There's two big things about COVID-19 that isn't true for the flu. Is number one, believe it or not, COVID-19 has a much higher mortality rate than the flu. It also spreads like wildfire. It spreads like crazy. And part of the problem is you can spread it and never show symptoms. So we don't even know when it's being spread or who's getting it. And so that poses a risk of infecting a lot of people really fast, okay? Now when I say it has a high mortality rate, that comes with a caveat. The caveat is it has a higher mortality rate than the flu for people who have who are vulnerable. There's vulnerable populations. All right, we have elderly people. We have people who have underlying medical conditions like hypertension, like lung disease, like obesity. I mean, we have a lot of people in this country who are elderly and who have diabetes and who have heart conditions and who have lung conditions and so many people are severely overweight in this country. So there is like a tinderbox ready to go off in this country. And we also have immunocompromised people. The people who for whatever reason, can't get vaccines. And that's the other thing. The flu, we have treatments for, right? We have treatments for the flu. We have Tamiflu. We have vaccines that help mitigate the spread of the disease and keep people safe. We don't have any of that shit for COVID-19. Not yet, anyway. We're working on it. So, people way smarter than me are working on it, but we're not there yet. But the reason it seems like the flu is so much worse is because the flu is widespread. All right, it's all over the place. It's well established in the world, and so there's a higher chance. So a lot of people get infected every year, and a lot of people die. But COVID-19 is just starting out. We're at the tip of the iceberg with COVID-19. All right. And what epidemiologists fear is that if COVID-19 becomes as well established as the flu, then we're going to have a huge problem. Not only that, a lot of epidemiologists are also worried that that COVID-19 will become annual like the flu. Like this isn't just going to be a one-time thing. So if COVID-19 becomes well established and becomes an annual thing, you can take those flu numbers that we have now and possibly double them, or worse, COVID-19 has a 3% mortality rate. You can do the math, but we have like close to 350 million people in the country? 3% of that. Now, keep in mind, right now, I think a lot of the experts are saying, and my number may be wrong here, but a lot of the experts are saying that the worst case scenario is 1.5 million could die from this right now. And of course, if we develop treatments and cures, that number will drop. But imagine if that's annual. It could be really bad. So it's not something to blow off. It could be a big, big, huge deal, which is why it's so important our government acts aggressively to contain this, to nip it in the bud, to try and choke it out before it could establish a permanent foothold in society. Because that would be bad. That would be really, really bad. And I'm trying very hard not to touch my face. I want to get the hair out of my way. Anyway, that being said, I know I said earlier about moderation, that we have to be moderate. The public has to be moderate. The way we react to this as neighbors and as friends and as coworkers has to be moderate. The government, though, has to be very aggressive, because this virus is very aggressive. So they have to really take charge and really rush headlong into this and make a strong commitment to stop it and stop it fast. But we people, we need to calm the fuck out, because that's the other side of the spectrum. All right, the other side of the spectrum are the people who are panicking. Now, I know I said this has a high mortality rate, but remember, that's for people who have, who are vulnerable, the elderly, underlying medical conditions, the immunocompromised. Most of us who are young, relatively healthy, we'll get over it just fine. We'll get sick, we'll be miserable for a few days, and then we'll recover. There will be a small population of healthy people who will die. There will be a small population of people who have long-lasting effects from this once they recover. But it's small. The risk is really, really low for anyone under 60. Anyone under 60, chances are good. 60 to 80, a little worse. Above 80, it's really bad. I think I read somewhere it's like 30%, 25%. So that's bad. But still, for most of us, don't panic, all right? There's still water. This isn't like a zombie apocalypse. There's still water coming out of your tap. The lights come on when you flip the switch. Look. Off, on, off, on. We still have electricity. Our infrastructure is still in place. The world isn't falling apart. And more importantly, too, you're not quarantined. You are not. There is no mandatory quarantine like in Italy. We're not all stuck inside our houses yet. So for those people who are losing their minds over this and wiping out stores of canned goods and toilet paper, please stop. Please, all right? You can still shop normally, all right? The point is, because you're not quarantined, the point is avoid large crowds, okay? Social distancing, that's the key. That's why we're being so aggressive over this. That's why we're canceling schools and postponing concerts and shutting down sporting events. It's to keep people away from each other. So there's no need to panic, all right? Stay calm, be moderate in your approach. Don't pretend this is no big deal, but don't lose your shit, okay? Go out and shop normally. just practice social distancing. Wash your hands. All right, that's a big thing to spread to contain this. Wash your hands a lot. That being said, don't hoard hand sanitizer. Soap and water will do just fine. Wash your hands with soap and water for like 20 seconds. And then that should be pretty effective. Social distancing, wash your hands, and if, God forbid you get sick, stay the fuck away from people. All right? I know for a lot of us it's really hard because we don't have paid sick leave. We have to get to work. A lot of people live paycheck to paycheck. And I know that's a really tough ask. And I understand that. And I sympathize. And that's why I support this guy, because we need to fix this for the people, because look what's happening. We need people to stay away from each other. And some people really can't. Not without help. All right? And speaking of help, I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to discuss why social distancing is important. All right, I'm sure you've all seen this graph, right? This is called flattening the curve. This is why we're shutting down everything and telling people to stay away from each other. All right, I'm sure you've all seen this. I'm going to explain in case you understand. Over here, this is the amount of people that get sick all at once, right? Along this axis at the bottom, this is the time it takes for the virus to spread. All right. So if we don't practice social distancing, because COVID-19 is really viral, it spreads really, really fast, worse than the flu. If we don't practice social distancing, a lot of people will get sick all at once, all right? Oh, this dotted line here, this dotted line is our healthcare capacity. This is how many people we can manage at once if they get sick. So if we don't practice social distancing, and this spreads really, really fast and affects a lot of people and gets a lot of people really, really sick, guess what happens? We exceed the capacity for our healthcare to handle them all, and it crashes. And then we're going to end up like Italy, where doctors are running out of beds and they're running out of respirators, and they're making really terrible, tough calls on who to let live and who to let die. We don't want that here. So by practicing social distancing, by washing your hands, what we do is we slow the rate at which people get sick, we slow the rate at which the disease spreads, and we flatten the curve. We take this high peak and we flatten it out, all right? So no social distancing, bad. With social distancing, good. And what that does is it buys our medical professionals and our hospitals the time they need to handle the illnesses as they come in. It makes sure that we have plenty of resources available, and that way we're not like in some sort of terrible emergency triage system where we're rolling the dice on people. So yeah, practice social distancing. It's really, 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 really important. And speaking of medical professionals, if you're hoarding those surgical masks, stop. They don't help you, okay? They won't protect you. That's not how they work. How they work is they stop they stop stuff coming out of your mouth, going into the public. They don't stop stuff that's out in the air coming in. That's not how they work. Especially if you have a jaw full of face fur like I do, those masks are worthless. So unless you're sick, don't buy them. Leave them for the medical professionals who are going to need them to stop spreading stuff to all the sick people they're going to be around and trying to help. Leave that stuff to them. Plus, if you do get sick, you shouldn't be out in the first place. Stay the fuck at home. And if you're staying at home, you don't need the masks. So stop buying them, stop hoarding them, stop price gouging them, because if you price gouge, you're a shitbag. Okay? So yeah, and speaking of things that won't help, just like those masks won't help you, toilet paper will not help this. I don't understand why people are hoarding toilet paper. Stop fucking hoarding. Please stop fucking hoarding. Toilet paper's not going to help. I can understand that you think, oh, I can't leave the house, but you can. You can go out and shop normally, all right? Just avoid big crowds and wash your hands, and we'll get through this pretty okay, providing our government is aggressive in their containment of it. And speaking of not hoarding, if you do hoard and you've had it and come to your senses and you have a change of heart and you have this big stockpile of stuff, then by all means, please check on your neighbors. Check on the people who you know are shut in that have a hard time getting out. Share with them, all right? Share with them. Even offer to shop for them. I mean, we have our phones now. We can pay through Venmo. So you can Venmo people money and a shopping list. They go out and get you, leave it on your porch. You don't even have to come in contact with them. All right? Ask someone who's if you're elderly, if you're sick, Ask someone healthy who's young to go out and do your stuff. Pay them online, and hey, you don't even have to interact. We can work together. We can really work together and solve this. But acting like it's no big deal and being stubborn and ignoring the warnings of staying away from large crowds, that's bad. Panicking and buying shit you don't need. I mean, the meat aisles are wiped out. The canned good aisles are wiped out. The toilet paper is wiped out. Hand sanitizer is wiped out. You don't need hand sanitizer. Soap and water. You don't need 2 months of toilet paper. We're not under mandatory quarantine yet. Okay? Okay? So the point is, take this disease seriously. It is serious. It could be very bad. It's not yet, but it has the potential to be terrible. So don't treat it lightly. Take it seriously. And when you take it seriously, you be cautious. All right? Practice social distancing. Work from home if you can. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. If you get sick, stay as far the fuck away from everyone else as you possibly can until you're better. All right? Doctors, don't go to the doctor's office if you're sick. Call first. Call ahead of time. Tell them how you're feeling and follow their instructions. All right? Don't just head out if you're sick. All right? So these are the things we can do. There's a lot of things we can do in moderation as a society. Be moderate in our reactions. Don't underestimate it, but don't panic. All right? Be cool, be calm, be level-headed, be logical. And we'll get through it. Okay? So those are my thoughts on the whole thing. Let's not overwhelm our medical system. Let's take care of the people who are helping sick people. Let's protect our vulnerable populations, all right? It's a huge inconvenience that we can't go to the movies or the concerts right now. March Madness is canceled. I know that sucks for a lot of people. I don't like sports that much, so it doesn't matter to me. Yay, Netflix. But yeah, that's how we can handle this. All right? All right? And I can't stress this enough. Social distancing. Washing your hands. Staying home when you're sick. That's what we need to do. We don't need to panic. We don't need to treat it like it's nothing. All right? So let's work together. Let's come together as a country and as a society and as human beings. All right? Come together as human beings and treat each other with kindness and respect and courtesy and empathy, and we'll get over it. Okay? If you have any questions, feel free to message me here, private message me, comment, do whatever. If you think this helps and you want to share it, I'm going to make it public, so go right ahead. Yeah, I think that's all I got to say. All right, so stay safe, be smart, and don't panic. All right? Stop hoarding toilet paper, for the love of God. For the love of God, stop hoarding toilet paper. All right, take care, everyone. Remember, we're in this together. We'll get through it.